Yeah, very good, very good. So the Church of England divided the country up into parishes, and the law required everyone go to church in his parish. So that would be like if it was now, and you had to go to church at a church nearest to your house. You couldn't pick your church. They would say, all right, well, you live on the west side, so you have to go to West Side Baptist Church. But you live over here, so you have to go to this church. They got to choose the churches for them. Again, Puritans don't love this. They don't like the amount of power that they have. It says the Separatists said these laws were against what the Bible taught. The Separatists did not go to the Church of England. Instead, they started their own churches and kept themselves separate from the Church of England. So another thing about the Puritans that you need to know is the Puritans did not associate with the Church of England any longer. They tore off, went their own way, started their own church. All right, so we're going down to the next heading from Scrooby to Plymouth. Who would like to read? Do I have someone that hasn't read yet? Okay, we'll go back at Gracie.
The people that we call the Pilgrims were a group of Separatists who lived in the English town of Scrooby. They were breaking the law by having their own church, but they believed they must break the law to obey God. Many of them were taken to prison.
All right, who's next? Isabel?
Some separatists wanted to leave England. Leaving England was a problem too. Staying and worshiping according to the Bible was against the law, but leaving was too. The Scrooby were captured.
The Scrooby Separatist.
The Scrooby Separatists tried to leave. One time they were captured and imprisoned. After several attempts, many made it to the Netherlands.
Very good. Last paragraph on this page. Would like to read? Tanisha?
The Separatists from Scrooby lived in the Netherlands for around 10 years. While in the Netherlands, they had the freedom to worship God as the Bible taught, but they had
Concerns.
concerns.
Oh, you're good. You can stop there. So, they kept trying to escape, kept getting caught. Finally, they escaped. Woo! Awesome. We get to worship God however we want. But do you think that it's all sunshine, roses, and peaches from here on out?
No.
No. And we're going to see more about that when you flip over to page 40. See, sometimes I throw in the silly voices because it wakes Amante up a little bit. He's like, what? Oh, yes, ma'am. Oh, you already want to read. I need some other volunteers to read beside my 3 readers. I have people in here that I know like to read out loud, but they're not doing it. We're on page 40.
Can they read on the computer?
Hey, Maddox. Can you hear me? Is there sound? Can I hear you? Say something. Say something. I don't know if my sound's working or not. So, all right, Alex, go ahead. Don't read about William Bradford. We're going to come back to him. Get to page 40 and read about that. They were in a foreign land.
They had learned that they had to find and they many of them remained were most important. They worried that
Their children.
children would become the programs, not of the culture was good children. They thought that a lot too much children were not do what they like not and they
The Lord's.
the Lord's Day was not set apart as a special day for worship.
Separatist. Starting a colony. Thank you. Starting a colony in North America. So, the Pilgrims. So, let's talk about this. because this is where a lot of people get confused. I don't have Tia's attention. I don't have Gabe's attention. Sit up, please. Head up. Thank you. I know. I'm tired. It's Monday. I stayed up late last night watching football, and now I'm really tired. So, I'm here. I'm awake. I need you guys to be awake with me, okay? So, like I told you guys earlier, a lot of people will confuse our Puritans with our Pilgrims. They are not the same thing. The group of Puritans, the separating Puritans or the Separatists that broke off from this group, came down, they became the Pilgrims. Okay? The Pilgrims were not making it in Scrooby because they wanted to worship their own way. They did not agree with the way the church was being run. They didn't agree with the parishes. They didn't agree with the appointed bishops and the appointed priests. So they kept trying to escape. They finally escaped. They finally made it out. They settled in the Netherlands. Did they like it in the Netherlands?
Yes.
Well, they started out liking it, but then they realized that it still wasn't how they wanted to raise their families. Yeah, they liked that they could worship freely, but they felt like there was too much sin. They weren't observing the Lord's Day. So they decided, all right, this has worked out till now. Nobody's telling us what to do, but there's also not enough rules. Let's start our own colony. And that's where that all begins. I need a reader in the next column on page 40. Gracie?
Starting a new colony was a huge undertaking. The Separatists needed to get permission from the king to start a colony. They needed permission to practice their religion. They needed money to hire ships to buy supplies. In order to make this venture work, they worked together with businessmen who saw the colony as a way to make money. Also, they needed other people to help them establish the colony. About half of the people who started this new colony were not separatists. The separatists called them strangers.
Huh, okay. So, my personal opinion with these separatists is you really couldn't make them happy, could you? There's really not much that you could do. They didn't like it here, so they came here. They didn't like it here, so they wanted to go here. They didn't like the help they were doing, and they literally called them strangers, which I think is hilarious. You're not a part of our group. You're a stranger.
Oh, I wonder what stranger.
Stranger danger, you know. So I have the note up here. The Pilgrims needed permission from the king to start their colony. They also needed money and ships, and they needed each other. They needed to work together to make this big goal that they had. Like in the reading says, it was a huge undertaking. And then also about half the people who started the new colony, they were not separatists. They were strangers. So that may come back up. It might be information that you want to know, so be thinking about it. Look at the top of the page 40. I'm going to read to you guys about William Bradford. He lived from 1590 to 1657, and he started the Plymouth Colony, or he helped start the Plymouth Colony. Head up. Thank you. William Bradford grew up in England with his uncles. His father died when William was young. When he was 12 years old, he began to attend church with the Separatists at Scrooby. He had become a Christian and was convinced that the Separatists were serious about following God. When he was 18, Bradford moved to the Netherlands with the Scrooby Church. He married his wife Dorothy while in the Netherlands. When Bradford was 30, he was part of a group of Separatists who decided to move to America. Bradford was given responsibilities for arranging the journey. When he arrived in America, Bradford was one of the men responsible for picking the place where they would build the town of Plymouth. Sadly, while he was exploring the land, his wife fell off the Mayflower and drowned. Bradford was saddened by his wife's death, but he worked hard to help build the colony. Bradford became the second governor of Plymouth Colony, and he served as governor for a total of 30 years. So it's just a little bit about one of the founders of the first colony, Plymouth. Let's look at page 41. Who would like to read? Israel.
The voyage across the Atlantic was difficult. The Pilgrims had hired two ships, the Mayflower and the Speedwell, but the Speedwell had sprung leaks. Passenger and Speedwell had left to crowd onto the Mayflower or to be left behind. The crossing itself was stormy. Pilgrims were glad they were to another voyage which over on the island. But troubles were not over. Laying farther north than they expected. They were outside the land given to them by the king. The man signed the Mayflower Compact to set up the government under the king. Winter would come soon. Half of them would die during this winter.
Okay, so Pilgrims had 2 ships to start with. Clearly, the king has given them permission. Yes, go build a colony. Of course, we've spoken about this. They wanted to build these colonies in the New World because that was going to bring them money, wealth, trade. So, of course, he says, yeah, I'll give you your freedom to worship however you want if you bring me money back. So they took the Mayflower and the Speedwell. Did the Speedwell ever sail?
No.
Did the Speedwell ever sail?
No.
No, it did not. It's from a leak. So all of the passengers that were going to be on the Speedwell, where did they go? Where did they go?
In the Mayflower?
Yes. They went to the Mayflower. Monte, mind your business. Mind your business. They went to the Mayflower, or they got left behind. Sit up. Thank you. All the way up. You don't sink that low in your chair. You're not a little midget person. You're a full-grown adult. Okay, so did they land where they intended to land?
Yes.
Did they?
No.
No, where did they land?
Mayflower.
Where did they land? Izzy?
May
No.
Winter.
No. Where?
They landed farther up the north coast than they expected.
Yes. Maddox? I can't hear him. Hold on. There's something wrong with my sound.
Connected to anything.
My computer's connected, but he's not muted, but it's not making sound.
I mean, like, connected.
Honey.
to-
Thank you. I don't know why I can't hear you, Maddox. Can you hear me, though? Okay, so I may not be able to let you answer questions because something's going on with my thing, but well, you're still here, though. So I know that you know. I'm sorry. This happened the other day. I had to restart my computer because the sound on it was messed up. Just like Gabriel told us, they landed further north. Was this the land that the king had given them?
No.
No. So what did they do? What did they do? Kaylin? Nope. What did they do? Tia.
Mayflower Compact.
They signed the Mayflower Compact. The Mayflower Compact is a set of rules written by the Pilgrims. They decided, they agreed, they said, all right, we'll be governed by the Church of England, but we need to set up these rules because we're not in the land that was given to us. Also, an issue with them landing further north does it get cold further north?
Yes.
Yes, it does get cold further north. So it's going to be harsher winter, and not like 2 or 3 people, half of them died. Okay? That's how much of an undertaking this was. So they went and they did this, but literally half of them died. The place they landed was largely uninhabited. This is page 41. The Patuxent Indians who had lived there had died of great sickness, but they had cleared the land for farming. So there had been a group of Native Americans living there. They had already set up the land to be farmed, but sadly, sickness took them away. But it set it up for the Pilgrims to have this land that they needed. The Pilgrims also discovered some corn that they had stored. Nice little thing there. The one I cannot do it. Survivor named Squanto taught the Pilgrims how to grow new kinds of food in the New World. Squanto also knew English, which means, back when we talked about Christopher Columbus and Vasco da Gama and Bartholomew Diaz, other Europeans had already been to this part of the New World where they're settling Plymouth. Squanto had already met some of these Europeans. He knew English. He was able to speak English with them. He served as a translator for the nearby Wampanoag Indians. The Pilgrims were able to make peace with them for a time. we do know the story of the first Thanksgiving. They made peace, they had a feast, but that feast would not last because the colonists wanted to take land that did not belong to them. Look at page 42. Not necessary. Look at page 42. Look at page 42. Look at page 42. Look at page 42. Page 42. Page 42. Page 42. Y'all are dead this morning. So we'll just scroll through this real fast. The Pilgrims named their colony Plymouth. So add that to your notes. The colony was called Plymouth because that is absolutely information that you are going to have. So they called the colony Plymouth. Called the colony Plymouth. They were grateful they had a place to live and to worship God and to teach the Bible as they thought it was supposed to be taught. They did not believe that unsaved people should be part of their church. Is that how we believe now as Christians? No. We want everybody to come and hear the gospel. But they believed that unsaved people should not be part of their church. In Plymouth, only Christians were allowed to be members of the church, but everyone was required to attend church on Sunday. I cannot read today either, guys. Whew. The Pilgrims did not allow people to practice false religion or false worship in their colony. They also taught people should live moral lives. Immorality was punished. They had laws against drunkenness. Rules like these have caused some people to say the Pilgrims were hypocrites. They say the Pilgrims came to America for freedom, but once they arrived, they took people's freedoms away. However, the Pilgrims never wanted freedom for people to do whatever they wanted. The Pilgrims wanted to live in a place where people had the freedom to do what was right. So a lot of people looked at the Pilgrims and they said, didn't you just leave England because you didn't have freedom and now you come to the New World and you're telling everybody what to do? And the Pilgrims are like, ha, yeah, that's exactly what's happening. But we didn't want freedom to go do whatever we want. We wanted freedom to do what was right. So there's some conflicting ideas on how people feel about the Pilgrims. And you can draw your own conclusions or assumptions on how you feel about it. If the people wanted to do what was wrong, they could live anywhere else in the world. The Plymouth colony was to be a special place. This does not mean the Pilgrims always did what was right. Like all humans, they were sinners, but their attempts to create a community where people lived to please God is one that every Christian should honor. So the Pilgrims, why did the Pilgrims want to come to America? Yeah?
To have freedom?
Yeah, they wanted the freedom to do what was right. They wanted Plymouth to be a special place. Okay, very good. Open your book, your textbook. Get your textbook out. Or your workbook, I'm sorry. Don't tear out today because the back side is for tomorrow. So we'll need to pay attention to that. Make sure you get these notes down because they are about to say adios. I'm doing everything in my power to wake you people up, and y'all are just like, I mean, I wore my brightly colored skirt today, and y'all are just, I feel like a crayon. I feel like all the crayons.
24 is not in my book. But you're a pretty crayon. It's not even. 24 is not in my book.
I didn't say 24. I said 27. Page 27. It's on the board too. Page 27. Don't tear it out because tomorrow's lesson is on the page. Monte is the slowest rider ever. But he has really nice handwriting, so it's okay. Are we erasing now? What's the first thing you should do when you get a paper? Everybody.
Name. Write on it.
Name and date. Even if it's gonna be in your book for the rest of the day, because tomorrow, guaranteed, I'll be like, flip over to the next page, and you'll do that page, and then you'll turn in a workbook page to me that doesn't have a name on it, and I'm gonna give you a 0 throw the garbage can, and then your parents are gonna email me and they're going to go, why in the world does my child have a 0? And I'm going to say, because they know to put their name on everything.
Ooh.
And they didn't. So that's my little rant of the day. I can't hear Maddox. I'm sorry.
Isn't there a chat box or something?
There is, but I just can't hear him today. I don't know what's going on.
We can speak in the chat box.
Hey, Gracie. Are you Miss B?
No.
Okay, Monte, I gotta move. I gotta move on.
You're not even away from it all.
Yeah, because he's giving him time.
Yeah, no.
See, he's giving him time.
I can hear you now. No, wait. I don't know what I can hear.
Who's it?
I thought I heard something. I can't hear you
I
now.
heard something.
I'm sorry, it was Maddox. He had a question and he has his headphones in, so he couldn't.
Okay.
He was worried that he couldn't talk to you. I apologize. Sorry for
It's all
interrupting.
good. It's all good.
Okay.
All right. What was your question?
I was just saying that my microphone wasn't
Well, now
working.
it is. I can hear you. Everybody say hi, Maddox.
Hi,
I'm glad that we can hear you now because I wanted you to read for me earlier. Nobody wanted to read, and I knew you would, but now you're here with us, so we're good. Okay. I'm trying not to erase. Okay, can I just get rid of it now? Okay. Bye. There we go. All right, so name on your paper. It's going to stay in your book. We'll rip it out tomorrow. We're looking at page 27. Numbers 1 and 2. Use the glossary to define the terms. Yes. I'm going to put them up here, but that does not mean you just copy down what I'm writing. Use your glossary to find these terms. 3, 2, 1, go. Separatists, Puritans. Here's the glossary in your book. It's in the back of your book. Open your textbook. Number 1 and 2. Use the glossary to define the terms Separatists and Puritan. What?
Found it.
I'm not gonna write them on the board until I see everybody with their glossaries open. Hey, did you just shush my class?
No.
I don't see you in a colorful skirt. I don't think you are Miss B. Please don't wear a colorful skirt to
I
school.
have a score on under this.
Why aren't you defining your terms? Separatists and Puritans, Israel Blatzer. My cup is very true today. Are you in the glossary or are you in the gazetteer? Oh, you're in the biographical dictionary. Yes, gazetteer. The glossary starts on 485, y'all. You know that you've got your biographical dictionary back there. Why are you raising your hand? You're supposed to be writing the terms down. You're supposed to write it down.
I thought you said the answer.
So my cup says today's number is 0, and it's got the count from Sesame Street. It says 0 kids are listening to me. Ah, ah, ah. It's very true today, Izzy. It's a very good thing that there's delicious pumpkin coffee in here. That's all I have to say. Do I still what?
I ain't say nothing.
Do I still like poo?
I didn't say nothing.
I like one person. I like my fiance.
I want to talk. I ain't say nothing.
Mhm.
And I want to not talk about it.
That's the only person that I like. I don't like any of you guys. Because I love you. So Separatists, a group of people who separated from the Church of England and started their own churches. It's an easy one to remember because the Separatists separated. So you got the word right there. Izzy, what you doing? What?
Yes.
It's gonna be one of those days, isn't it? Oh, Lord. I'm just gonna go ahead and straighten you up by your toes and call it a day. Oh, my arm hurts. Okay. So remember, there's a difference between Puritans, Separatists, and Pilgrims. Puritans were the OG. Okay, they were there first. They were the first of the first to have these ideas. But a lot of the Puritans believed, oh well, the Church of England's changing. England's becoming Protestant. Yada yada yada. We're cool. Then you had your Separatists, the group of people who separated from the Church of England. They started their own churches. Okay. And then you had the Separatists who became the Pilgrims. Now, your Puritans, they just wanted to purify the Church of England. They didn't agree with some of the teachings, but like I said, they were cool once the Church of England became Protestant and the nation of England became Protestant. But you had your Separatists, like I said, those are the people that they're just negative Nancy's. You could not make them happy, so they left. Do what you gotta do. All right. Down at 3 through 7, we've got a church, some shoes, and a ship. Church, some shoes, and a ship. So you're going to circle the church if the statement applies to Scrooby, England. If y'all recall from the reading, Scrooby was where the Puritans were living. You're going to circle the wooden shoes. They're called clogs. You're going to circle the wooden shoes if the statement applies to the time they spent in the Netherlands. And you'll circle the Mayflower, the ship, if the statement applies to their time at Plymouth. Number 3 says, Separatists lived here and broke the law by having their own churches. Izzy?
Jews.
Kaylin? Guys, come on. It says Separatists lived here and broke laws by having their own churches. They did that in Scrooby. They were breaking the law because remember, the Church of England said, you've got to have parishes, you have to have this, you have to have that. And they said, no. So they had their own churches and they broke the law. That was in Scrooby, so circle the church. Yes, ma'am. Oh, yeah. No, I already said it. So circle the church because that was in Scrooby. They were breaking the law by having their own churches. And Scrooby's fun to say. Oh, man. Scrooby-Dooby-Doo. So I'm just going to write the words you know to circle the church. Number 4, the Separatists lived there for around 10 years. Where did they leave? Where did they go to when they left Scrooby? Gracie?
Mayflower?
No.
Netherlands?
The Netherlands. Remember, they kept trying to leave and they kept getting captured and they left and they made it to the Netherlands. And they're like, yes, we can worship however we want. Oh, wait, look at all these sinners. Let's skedaddle. And they did. So you're going to circle the wooden shoes for the Netherlands. Number 5, Squanto taught the Pilgrims how to grow kinds of foods. Where was this happening, Isabel? Nope. Yes, y'all are kind of off your game today. Did y'all listen to the reading at all? Did you take your notes?
It's easy because
So when they got to the New World, they met Squanto. He helps them grow food. That would have been in Plymouth, so you're going to circle the Mayflower. Number 6, the Pilgrims landed in a place that was largely uninhabited. You have a question? Okay.
Church.
No. The Pilgrims landed in a place, Maddox?
The Netherlands?
No, that's where they went second. They went to the where? Everybody can tell me. Plymouth. They went to the New World. It was largely uninhabited. So on number 6, the Pilgrims landed in a place that was largely uninhabited. Circle the boat.
Because wasn't there an Indian tribe there, but they got wiped out from the sickness?
Mm-hmm. But Squanto was one of those survivors. And numero 7, the Separatists thought that too much sin was allowed here, the second place that they went, and they decided to start their own colony, Tanisha. Oh.
I mean, the wooden shoes.
Yes, the wooden shoes. That was in the Netherlands. Remember, they finally got to a place where they were free to worship, but they didn't like the amount of sin and stuff that was going on. And they didn't want it to affect their children, so they said, hey, let's start our own colony. Okay, so on your own, you'll do the last one until it's time for class change, which is about 5-6 minutes from now. Take your book to kind of get an idea for it and describe life in Plymouth. It's right there in what we read today, in today's lesson. So for that last question, describe life in Plymouth. You can tell if there were already people there, what the land was like, what the weather was like. You could talk about Squanto. You could talk about the church. You could talk about how they didn't want anybody doing anything but what they said to do. But we talked a lot about how life in Plymouth was. So for that last one, several sentences on describing life in Plymouth. Yes. Yes, but give me 1 second. I'm going to chat with Maddox really fast and let him go get this one done so we can change classes. Maddox! Are you good? Do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and sign off because it's about time for us to change classes. But just let me know if you need anything from me today.
Okay.
All right, everybody say bye, Maddox.
Bye.
Bye.
We'll see you later.